3, 2, 1.
Nervous?
No, I just like to breathe. I like to breathe a little bit before. Maxime Crepèau, how are you doing?
Good yourself?
I'm doing okay, man. How's the recovery been so far? I know the routine may be a little bit different than what you're used to in goalkeeping, but how's that been?
Yeah, well, so far it's been really good. To be honest, we had a amazing team around me, just trying to put things together and making progress on a weekly basis. And the routine, I'm someone who arrives a bit early at training, and so I just arrive a little bit more earlier than the earliest. So it takes a bit more time to get the leg going, obviously, because it was a major injury. But in the meantime, if you do a little bit every day, a little bit more to achieve your goal at the end of the day, well, things can go faster than the process. And so far it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking to you after the injury happened and the time that's passed through, the winter break and everything. Again, you seems like you're somebody who is very, very driven. And was it always like that, or is this kind of a new perspective after the injury?
No, if I want something, I'll go get it. Yes, I do think that working on objectives and vision is something that works, and I just don't work just like this. Oh, this morning I'm gonna do this or do that. No, I have a purpose into my training and into what I do to achieve the objectives that we put ourselves.
For you, have you ever been able to go back into the season and say, you know what, I could have improved on this and all that, or no, not yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I believe I was doing it in the season, so imagine after season. But yeah, I mean, after every game, after every month or so, I kind of have a retrospection and into the things that I could have done better, things that I have to keep going at. In this sense, there's always room for improvement, especially in the spot that we were in. We had to keep going in order to get the double. And so, yeah, it's something that I was doing for over the years, and I'm still doing it.
I'm curious, in this season, how often are you watching video? Is it after every training, after every game? How do you balance that?
Training, there's footage, and we have access to this. And when there was a bit of action, I was curious or doubting on either my positioning or a goal that I conceded or something that really was in my mind. I was going on the platform. I was checking the videos, things that I can control while I was doing it because it's important. And then in games, I think 2 days after the games, this is where the adrenaline go drop off. Every goalkeeper is different. Every person is different. Some guys are already on their phone watching the films right after the 90 minutes. I'm not like this. I need to go down a little bit, have maybe one day of really checking out, and then the second day I go back in.
Mm. Yeah, I think last year, back it up a little bit. I've used to watch USL highlights a lot, and obviously that's kind of where you made a name for yourself early on, and I knew who you were. And so when I got the opportunity to come to LAFC, working with you, it was a shock to me because I feel like the first day you were here, whether it was the set pieces, you already knew specifically where everyone was supposed to be. And it was, again, like the second or third day that you were here. So for me, it was like a shock of like, wow, this guy already, hit the ground running. And then also, too, there was, I always forget that. I'll never forget this. I always mention it to people when they ask me about you. I'll just say, yeah, there was a moment where, I think it was an offside in a small-sided game. And I forget who it was, one of the strikers. And he stopped because they blew the whistle. And you had already completed your movement. And you were like, shoot it. And then I think we're all kind of like, hey, he called it offside. What do you mean? And they shot it, and you made a really good save. But it was like, no matter what the situation was, let's keep it game realistic. Even if it's offside, finish it. Who knows? VAR, maybe they call it back, and you had to make the save anyways. So I feel like you've always, for me at least, seeing you've always been locked in and somebody who doesn't really shut off. So is that you're wired like that, you said, or was there like a moment where that switched for you?
I believe in training. I've always been the guy who want a bit more and try to cover every situation. And this moment in training, I do remember. I think it was against Moose.
Yeah.
I think it was against Move, but yeah, movement, everything. He done his movement, and I was like, this small-sided game is ended after this, so just have it go. But yeah, I mean, we both did a movement. Everything was fluent, so I was like, let's do it. We're there.
Yeah.
But I believe it's important to cover every single angle and to do over prepared sometimes. Overwork is better than underwork in my opinion, so that's how I see it.
Yeah, well, again, before you had the success with LAFC, before you were undisputed #1 and all the accolades that followed that, you started off in the Montreal Impact Academy. So you signed, I think, there when you were 16. I think 2010 was your first season. But what were you like as a young goalkeeper prior to that? Were you always hungry for it? You always somebody who wanted to be a goalkeeper, or did you play on the field at times?
No, I was a defender when I started playing. I was 8, and I have an older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and I watched one of his practice, and I told mom and dad I want to do like my big brother. I want to do like my older brother, and so I was the next week's training at the youth level in Montreal. At 8, I was defender, and then at 10 years old, our goalkeeper wasn't there for the start of the season, so I stepped in. Never went back after that. Never went back. And at 15, I started training with the first team. 18, I signed my first contract, and so it's been a ride, yeah.
Yeah. What were some of the like early trainings and things that made you fall in love with goalkeeping?
The adrenaline. I was a kid with a lot of energy, so I like to throw myself here and there as well. And then with time comes the technique and how you learn how to be a goalkeeper. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you were a big time shot stopper. I think that was one of the things when I used to watch you. It was just like your reactions and the saves that you would make would just be so athletic. And it would just be like, oh my God, this guy is putting himself into these positions. And out of nothing, say Gordon Banks. I mean, everyone remembers the Pele header against Gordon Banks, but like you made a lot of those types of saves. And was that a part was that like the selling point of your game at the beginning and then you refined everything else? Or were there coaches that came to you and said, hey, like you have something in the athleticism and the shot stopping aspect? Start wrapping up the other things as well?
I believe it was one of for a goalkeeper, you need to put the ball out of the net.
Sure.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. After that comes everything else, but keep it out of the net. And so when I was younger, I believe shot stopping was my number one aspect of my game. I believe I always liked to play with my feet, and as a young guy, back then I was able to play left-right, which is not given to anybody sometimes. And so I had that facility, that normal flow of going left or right, even though I was in a young age. And now I'm just fluent with both, even though I don't have the same power with my left. It's pretty accurate as well. So I'm able to move with that. But at first it was more shot stopping, keep it out of the net, and then everything else came in. After that, it was the crosses. After that, it was the feed, the communication, the positioning, all the aspects of goalkeeping.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Right foot, left foot. You speak so many different. How many languages do you speak to?
Realistically, 2, okay. And I'm getting around with my Spanish. If you drop me somewhere, anywhere in the world, I'll survive and I'm good.
Yeah, you do. I mean, we have a lot of Latin Americans here and Hispanics here, so I've seen you use it on the field. And the French, obviously, with Marc Dos Santos and not Denny. Yeah. But for you at the beginning in Montreal Academy, were you always the number one, or did you kind of like have that early fight with somebody who was your equal in that sense?
Yeah, I had 3 guys. 2 of my good friends to this day. The goalkeeper union was Samuel Dufour, Jason Bollier, and myself, which they were 6'2", and then we were super young, and it was the fight between the 3 of us to get that number 1 spot at the academy. But what I love about the relationship that we had, even though we were young, we were friends before being colleagues at work, and so we were happy for each other when another one succeeded or another one made a good impact or good action, and there was no jealousy. And at a young age, it's rare to find. So this was really a luxury to have within our group.
Yeah. How did you find your way to? Were you the definitive number 1 at some point? Like, did you kind of beat them out, or were you guys going 1-2, 1-2, or some games back and forth? Or
at my early stage, I had a few injuries. So Jason was number 1, Sam was number 1 at one point. They were kind of in and out, both of them. And when I came back from injury, I started playing, and from there I never looked back.
Yeah. And how early did you get your Canadian national team, the youth national team call-ups? Was that
I was 15? Yeah,
15. Wow.
15 for the under 17s. It was the first few camps. Still a kid, but this is where you really understood. Okay, I've been in the program for for over a decade now. Not the senior program, but the whole program for over a decade. So it's been quite a ride. A decade with the men's team.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a ride, yes. And then you realize how far you come along now. Now that you look back at your at your way.
Yeah, you've had some incredible experiences. I think you being in the Montreal Academy and signing at you said 15, correct? And then you go a year later, you're getting called into the youth national team of Canada, and then you do play the CONCACAF 17s championship, which is obviously the qualification process to get to the U17 World Cup. And you have obviously the entire tournament you play. Do you remember let's go back to when you got the call to go to your first youth national team camp. Was that a sign of again, perfect progression? I've been working my ass off to get to this point, and this is the logical progression for me? Or was it this is a huge moment?
I think it was a progression of things. I was super happy because I was doing well on my club level, and then the call came in, and it was literally the first time that you experience a thing like this. So it was more discovery, excitement. Once you're on the spot and with your teammates, it's more, all right, let's do this, let's win it. But at first, it's more excitement because you're pretty young. It's the unknown.
Who were you around when that call came in? Was it a call, a text, an email?
I believe it was an email,
Okay.
and I don't remember where I was, but I don't remember. I might be home. I might be home or at school.
Yeah, you're still young. There wasn't that much going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you guys win the CONCACAF qualifying. Not win. You guys, I think, you lose to the U.S. in the final.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Extra time. I remember this.
I don't even want to say the score. I mean, I've been doing my research with it. I was like, added extra time. Oh, 3-0. I don't know how that kind of happened. Do you remember anything about that tournament?
5 minutes of L, and that's it.
Do you in that tournament? Did you feel like you belonged? Like you felt like you said, your competitive nature comes out, but obviously there's some points. For example, I had Oka on, and he was saying that 38 years old, he was thrown in. Kevin Trapp gets injured. He goes in, plays his first game, and he's like, "Oh crap, this is going way too fast for me. I think I need to just." So, was there a moment where you were like, "Oh, is this too fast, or this is exactly the speed that I'm at"?
No, that's exactly the speed that I'm at this moment. I remember, I don't think we conceded until that goal against the States. So 5 games, we were just going through teams, and things went well. We were solid defensively. I had my part to do to keep the games tight, and then we took on the lead and then killed games. But it was really a nice moment because I was like, hey, I like this. Like, I really like this.
The adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the adrenaline was probably kicking in high gear right there. Jeez. Okay, so then from there, you guys go to the U17 World Cup. And again, now it's another step up to playing, even better competition. What happened in that tournament for you? Do you remember anything from it?
Yeah, playing the first game against Uruguay. I think when I get out, because I got injured that game, I have contact at minute 70 or so against an Uruguayan striker. And I did ACL, MCL, both partially tear, no surgery. But it was really an interesting one. And it took 9 months to recover from this one. So I played lately. I played an amazing game where Uruguay was better than us. And it's one of those that you had to showcase yourself, where you have to put 5, 6, 7 saves in the first hour of play. And then that's without the crossing and all that stuff. So it was really busy around the box. And this is one of those that you have to step in and to play well. And eventually I get hit, and from there 9 months later I'm starting to play back. So it was a good moment, but it was a tough one to see. Oh man, here we go.
Yeah. That recovery process, was that your first time dealing with something that severe?
This was the first time, like a 9 months recovery process. A knee, it was my left one. Now the knee is perfect, so life is good. Nothing to declare with that knee, so it's perfect now. But at first it was like, oh man, I'm out of the game and I need to recover and come back. That was my first thought, but we were young and it happened kind of fast.
Yeah, I mean, seeing what's happening now, I'm sure again those are all moments that you kind of look back on and say, damn, okay, as soon as I've processed what's happening, what's the recovery time, boom, my mind goes from I don't feel sorry for myself anymore, let's get back to it. Yeah, it's a mental state that a lot of people are chasing after. It's hard to always be on the grind. So it sounds like that's something you're doing all the time. But so Yeah, cheers.
Coffee.
So now, obviously, you go back to your club, and let's see, from that time to the recovery, and you're still at Montreal Impact. Was there a sign after you came back that, okay, hey, this is a club that's going to try and promote me to the first team?
Yes, I was training with the first team. First few trainings were at 15, 16 years old. So I was finishing high school, going to class an hour and a half in the morning, going to training with the first team, and finishing an hour and a half or two in the afternoon. So I knew I was in the environment. And at 15, it's where I told myself I can really do something here because I'm the only one of my age training with the group. I'm feeling comfortable when I do so. Am I at the level? No. But do I have the potential? Yes. So I was really excited and driven by that project. And when I came back from the under 17s, obviously I went through rehab and I started training once again with the first team, playing with the second team. So it was a good moment for me because it was these days that you had double a day and then you're not tired and you just keep going. And eventually, when I was 18, this is when I signed my first contract. And it was after the under 20s qualification period. Yeah.
The under 20 qualification process. You didn't play in that tournament, correct? Or did you?
I did play. I remember playing Cuba. I think we lost once again against the States.
Oh, yeah.
I do, yes. I think it was semifinal. So under 20s, I do play the whole tournament, and that's in Mexico. And when I come back, this is where there's an offer on the table to sign in Montreal. Yeah.
And you're the fourth homegrown that was signed to Montreal Impact. That back in the day, that was a huge deal, by the way, because nowadays, like, there's academy guys getting progressed, and it's lost a little bit of its I would say flair to it. But I feel like back then, signing a homegrown really meant that you are somebody that the club is seeing as it could be a potential superstar for the club.
You're right. Nowadays, we have what a system that every club pretty much have. It's a luxury to scout these young talents here and there. And back then, the thing was that there wasn't an academy of under 18 all the way down. It was really second team, and that's it. And the second team had men's in there, and the average of the team was like 25 in the second team back then. Now there's, all right, 18, 16, 14, 12.
All the way down.
It wasn't like this before. Yeah. So this is why maybe there was a bit of that spark back then compared to today, because you see at 12, 14, all right, this guy, he has that potential. He has that little target on his back that we will achieve it. Back then it wasn't this, so maybe that's why it was a bit more special than today.
Yeah, for you, is it, again, this big moment for you when you got that contract?
Yeah, really happy. Really, really happy. It was the typical MLS contract, 4 years down, homegrown, sign it right now, go through the ladder and grow up from there. It was a great moment because I'm born and raised in Montreal, obviously. My club from my heart was Montreal, where I was an ultra at some point in my life. At like 14, 15, I was behind the net cheering, and now fast forward 4 years later, I'm like signing my first deal there. So for me, it was a kid's dream to play for his city, where I'm born and raised, and then the work started from there. It was really, all right, what can I bring to the table now?
Yeah, and at the beginning, were you the third option?
Yes.
Okay, how was that with that goalkeeping group and the goalkeeping coach? Did they take you under your wing?
My first year was I believe, I think it was right before I do sign. It was Marco Scharabaum, Swiss coach, but I started training when Jesse Marsh was there, and Jesse Marsh was there with Donovan Ricketts, if I remember well. Donovan Ricketts was there. After that, I had Troy Perkins. What a great guy! I had good number ones to look at and grow from. And then I had Evan Bush that was there for a bit, and then he was a big part of a mentor that I had when I was a bit younger as well. But yeah, I was third string, and then I worked up for 4 years. I was third, just trying to work it out, and then playing still with the second team, so that was good. I needed to get my games. When it came up year number 5, it was all right, time to time to play or to get up the ladder. Yeah.
Yeah. What were some of, I know we have the tangible stuff of the shot stopping, you're good with both feet and all that. Then the emotional side, where was there anything that you were looking to work on or that they were mentoring you on?
Oh yeah, I was a loose cannon a little bit when I was young, where my emotions, I was going at it, and if I saw something that I didn't like, I was telling the player, but I was going out of my zone because I was focusing too much on my teammates and not on myself. So I was so hyped that I was, hey, you need to block that shot, but I was in the wrong positioning, for example. And this is when you kind of catalyzed your emotions, and you need to go back to your own your own position and not being just the goalkeeper screaming everywhere. But yeah, I did learn so much about these guys, especially Evan, because I was a longer time with him, and I had a closer relationship with him, and yeah, I learned so much about a few aspects.
Yeah. And what was, I mean, I saw that you went to Dusseldorf,
Mhm.
Fortuna Dusseldorf, for a little trial before preseason, I think in 2015. Yeah. You went for a 10-day trial. What was that? I think objective for you, was it to try and get a contract there? Oh no, you spilled coffee. Okay, it's okay. I'll cut that out of the video. There's probably a hole in the cup or something.
I can't believe that.
Oh
Okay,
no.
it's okay.
Okay.
It's a good story. A good story to tell.
Yeah. The show must go on.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to Dusseldorf, what was that objective?
There was an objective of getting fit for the preseason. That was the number one, because I had few training stints in Europe at that time, because it was a longer off season, and 2 months and a half, almost 3 months if you didn't make the playoff. Off season is way too long. So the objective number one was to really get fit, and then from there see, do I belong in this level as well. I've played against Breda, and it did work pretty well that day. But I wasn't talking to Dusseldorf on a daily basis. It was just complete your training stint and see how this goes. But it was really from the start a training camp with a training letter says that I'm going there just to get fit, and that was it. But it was cool to see the experience, get to see a new culture of football, and meet some guys down there. Yes, it was really, really fun.
Yeah, and like you said, when you get that homegrown contract, it's great when you sign, but as you progress, you're obviously getting a lot of experience with first team guys, and you want to get your minutes in. And if it's maybe not going to be with the first team, now you're looking for opportunities maybe with FC Montreal. Was there a conversation, or did you initiate that conversation to move to the USL affiliate of Montreal Impact?
Yeah, there was a moment that I go up to the office, and I'm wondering after a season, and I'm wondering what is the plan regarding my playing time, because I approach an age that I need to start playing, and so if it is alone, it is alone. But I just want to be clear on what's the next step for me, and what's the plan with my name in the office, and I believe it's kind of normal for players to have questions. And I went up and say, listen, what is the plan? Am I getting some minutes? Am I going on loan? And so we found that solution in Ottawa, and this was a breakout year for me, where I knew what I was able to do, but I never prove it either to myself or to anybody else, because I didn't have the opportunity. So
Yeah.
and so to get games that year was the most important thing, and it really started off my career, where it was basically training and getting numbers of repetition and all that stuff. But it really started when I was in Ottawa.
FC Montreal, we played 30 appearances there. So you had 11 games the first year. Second year you had 19, but the first year you had your first against Rochester Rhinos. That was your initial start
I
there.
believe this game was against J Mac as well.
Really?
I think it's the year that Jay's there, that Johnny is there. I think.
I probably around the same time you guys were progressing through the ranks there.
Yeah, and I played against him when he was in Bethlehem still.
Really?
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Oh boy, I got to put those highlights over this.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. So you obviously, yeah, you play for Montreal. You had your experiences there, and then you said you go to Ottawa, and I think that is where, from everything I've read about you in that sense, is that that was an opportunity for you not just to get minutes, but I guess for you to prove to yourself that okay, there's something here because I'm actually getting the minutes and I'm performing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This was the big deal. It was you need to go there and prove that you can play a season. But even though prove to play a season, it was me in the mirror as well. Like I can do it right now, and it was me saying I can have a full year, and you learn so much when you start playing every 3 or 4 days or once a week, and then you can start to travel and you go on these bus runs of 10 hours top, and then you play the next day and you come back, it's 5 in the morning, you play in 2 days. You learn so much about these little moments, and it was a good time for me at 23. It was a good time for me at 23 to do it, because it was a good age to really have a breakout year. But it was really me against myself, proving it, I can do it. And obviously, um, the eyes that the eyes that were focused on what's Max doing, it was good to see because people were watching, were paying attention.
I feel like there's pressure in that sense.
At that time, I don't think so. Yeah, there was some sort of pressure. Yes, it was a type of pressure because it's either you go down to to break everything that is in your way. When I say you go down, you go to the USL, you go lower to one division to have some minutes, and you got to break everything and you got to kill it, or you have an okay season, and then the opinions around you and the eyes are saying, he's not ready, or he's not what we expected to be. But I really did not focus about that. I had my goalkeeper coach, my mentor Youssef Daha, has been with me for ages, and we still talk every few weeks. But he was really good to get me ready at every single game and to really push at training, and to he was the reason why I was able to have a season like this too, because he was the man who was prepping me every day.
What did he provide to you that maybe you needed at the time?
Youssef, the human side. We had two persons that look alike, where we are really, really intense, and then when we have something in mind, we go for it. So the first few training sessions, I learned the hard way that he's passionate, and he will not sugarcoat what he has to say. And me, I'm somebody who is really intense, and so that matchup was really a good one on a personal level, and then professional wise, Youssef pushed us so hard in training from when we were like 15 to now, to this day. I'm sure in Vancouver the guys are just dying sometimes in
Yeah.
training, and it's his methodology of work. But this is why I like to work hard as well. This is how it kind of formed me, glued me into that mentality. Yeah.
The coaching side, it's always tricky. You always have everyone come in with their complex set of emotions, and from the coaching side, you're just trying to find the right way to approach each goalkeeper. So it sounds like Yusuf understood you, and you guys understood each other. But were there ever any days where it was just kind of like, yo, you being a little too hard on me today, or were you kind of like, I
Oh,
understood where he was coming from?
I understand where he was coming from, but we definitely clashed a few times in throughout the years because I had an opinion and he had another one, and that's part of the professional environment. It's not always sky's blue and birds are singing.
Yeah.
It's not always this, but we had some clashes. All the time respectful. All the time the respect was there, and we can talk through opinions. And even though sometimes it was more heated than others because we are both passionate guys, we have that mutual respect that it was a great fit. And um, he really took me when I was 15, started training, started to work on my technique, tactic, all that stuff through where I am now. I know it's because of his philosophy and his kind of worked. So we have an amazing relationship once again. Like this is really rare to find a mentor like this, I believe, because it's a story of like 13 years of work. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it sounds like it was right place, right time for you and him, where you guys found each other at the right time. So that's like most players. I think we all have one or two coaches or people that came into our lives at the right moment, give us that spirit and that energy to continue pushing forward. And yeah. And so you from there, I mean, you didn't have just a good season. You had a great season. I think there was one month where you didn't concede a goal for 6 games.
That was the month of May, I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So you have so that right away. I mean that's great. And then you continue that where you have 15 shutouts, which is still the USL record. So not only are you going down a level, but now you're proving not just to yourself, but to the organization that you are somebody to be taken seriously because you can lead a team and do that. So in that team, were you the leader or were you someone that complemented the leaders?
I think I was a silent leader back then, where when I had to say something, I said it, and I always did. But I remember we had few vets like Nana Adakora, Carl Hayworth, Max Tissot, Jamar Dixon, guys that had great careers. I think Max Tissot is the only one still playing. Jamar retired last year. Nana's assistant in Oakland. These guys were the true. Carl Hayworth is still playing in Ottawa, I believe, and captain of Ottawa still. So these guys were the soul of the team, and me as a younger guy coming in, but with the same anger and the same vision as them. I think I was just one of the complement of the team. But when I had to say something, I was always speaking out, as well as. Leaders, sometimes it's on the field, it's a little bit in the locker room, but it's on the field as well, where you need to make actions to change the course of a season. And I believe it worked well that year.
Yeah. What was that transition now that you're going from Ottawa, where you are again maybe a silent leader, but also someone who's contributing, to coming back to the Montreal Impact? And again, now you're maybe moved up one step, so now you're not the third goalkeeper anymore. Now you're the second goalkeeper behind Evan Bush. What was that 2017 season like for you? Was it like make or break? Was it like, let me try and get my games where I can? Or what was your mindset there?
Yeah, after Ottawa, it was great. It was great for me because it was either I go up in the office, once again I ask, well, what's the game plan? What is the game plan? What is the plan with me? Evan had a great season as well. When I was in Ottawa, he had an amazing season. And so I went up there. Remy Gard is the coach. And I said, I never really had one sessions with Remy. What's up, boys? This is all the stuff that people don't know, but this is the stuff that people don't know. But what makes this thing great is that everybody's in it, and everybody has a big smile coming into the office. It's amazing.
Yes.
Small bit of details. Coming back to there, I go back to the office and ask Remy Gard a 15-minute conversation of the year. I'm like, all right, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Evan had a great year. I come back from Ottawa. Lay it out on me. What are the cards on the table at the moment? I said, we're not in the club's vision you're not going to play this year. Evan's going to be our guy. So, okay, perfect. And I said, thank you very much for being straight up with me and honest. And this moment, I was in a place that I was ready to play. I had even more hunger to achieve great things. So 15 minutes later, I asked a trade because I was like, all right, it's not going to happen now. It needs to happen now for my career. And if it's not here, I'll be somewhere else. And the trade to Vancouver came 1 month later.
Wow. Now, you do play a little bit. You played in the Canadian Championship.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got to the final, and I just watched the highlights last night, so I think that last goal from Giovinco was a killer in the final.
Oh, man, 92nd in BMO Field.
Yes. Now BMO Field here in LA. But,
BMO Stadium.
BMO Stadium, there we go. But yeah, I think, again, you get your little taste in there as well, but it seems like you're like, you know what, man, like I kind of know what I'm capable of. I know what I want to do, and just let me get out of here. You move to Vancouver. Let me get this right here. You do move to Vancouver, and you actually, I think it's for, oh my God, $50,000 and $50 in TAM and a third round pick, which again is pretty good money for.
Yeah, maybe two bags of soccer balls, one cooler, something like this.
It's still nice to at least know that your name carries something, and in that transfer there's a good exchange there. But Vancouver, fresh start for you, and was the objective for you, I'm going to a club that I can play from the start, or what was the conversations there?
No, it was two goalkeepers at the time where Zach McMath was playing ahead of Andre. Zach was traded to Vancouver. Andre came in to Philly and never left Philly. That was his office, his 18-yard box. And then Zach had maybe 100 MLS games under his belt, and I had a great season under my belt. And it was really, you're gonna have the same amount in preseason. You're gonna do exactly the same. You both will have your chance, and based on training and games in preseason, we will make a choice. And this is how it went down in the whole year. I started the year, and I did not went back from there. I didn't look back from there, but it was literally two guys going at it. Once again, being respectful, having a good relationship, but business is business on the field, where we both needed to prove the club and the environment that we could be the guy for the team.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've heard from you earlier, is like I needed to prove to myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really necessarily about proving to anybody, because I think if you prove it to yourself and you have high objectives and high, goals set for yourself, you're going to, in turn, in that same page, affect the way people look at you. Because if you're setting yourself at that standard and you continue to beat it, I think that is where the people start to notice it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, too, at the end of the day, you're able to control that and then move that to all facets of your life. And so Vancouver, was that also maybe like that breakthrough moment of like, okay, I'm doing what I need to do, and now I'm getting the reward for it, not at the USL level, but at the MLS level?
It was, I knew that I had it in me, and I was about to confirm it without putting anything bad words into Ottawa. It was just, or teammates, it was a better environment and a better level and a higher stake. It was the real deal here in North America. And so it was great for this moment. I need to prove it to myself, and yes, to the environment as well, because I remember I was on my last year of contract as well. So it was like, what's next for me after this? I don't know. It was a good one, an interesting one to see. So it was there at that time. I came in and I'm like, I need to have the same season just to confirm it, because you're able to do it. Can you do it again? And that was a good thing for me to put it out there and express myself, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that first season.
Personally, on a level, it was a hell of a season. Probably my best so far. Probably my best so far on a personal level, because you are bombarded from here and there. Vancouver Whitecaps was going through a rebuild, and rebuild from scratch, from top to bottom. So we had a year of difficulty. I think we have 5 wins over the whole season, and I got shots from everywhere, crosses from everywhere, which was great for me, because first year in the league and you get bombarded. So it was good to prove once again that I was able to make some actions for your organization, and in that case, over the 34 games, I did a pretty good job.
What were some of the major improvements that you had from start and then the end of the season?
I think it was more experience of dealing through highs and lows of games, managing the rhythm, managing your players as well. This was a big aspect of it, because in training you can train 5,000 times, but it doesn't come close to the game time, when you need to really communicate to one of the guys in front of you this little detail at this time of the game, or just share a love tap to say amazing job or whatever. It doesn't, these little moments, you just gain them on the field when the 90 minutes are completed. You don't get them in training. And these were the best moments of the year. And obviously I had some good moments in 2019 where I'm proud of it, but it was the year that I was just game after game after game, having so many shots that it was easy, because the engine was warm. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
So
gears were spinning.
Yeah, exactly.
And then then COVID comes, and it's kind of a tough year for everybody, but you guys have the MLS's back. Well, first off, when COVID did come, were you kind of like, oh, but I mean, obviously, yeah, it's a pandemic, but also too shit. Like, I just worked my ass off to get to become the starter, and now I'm kind of back at square one here.
2020 was an interesting one for everybody. But there comes the bubble, basically. I broke my thumb second game against Seattle, and that kept me out for the whole year. And I was only back January 2021 at national team camp in January. So 2020 was really an interesting year of, yes, of course, the pandemic arrives. But in the meantime, football is on was on hold once again because of my thumb. So it was a slow year.
Yeah. What was that recovery? How long was that? Like 6 months?
6 months, yeah. I had the base of the thumb detached, and I had 1, 2, and 3 wires sticking in there for 1 month. I had to remove the wire, another month in the cast. So 2 months immobilized, basically. I don't have yet all the mobility, but it's normal because after surgery, you never come back to your full mobility. But the strength is there. It was difficult at first to break all the scar tissue and the soft tissue work. I think that's the biggest part of surgery, especially my hand, because it was contact. So you gotta put a piece of wood and just bite on it. So that was the hardest part of it. And then after that, obviously, when you get to the field and you start getting your little cues on the field and little habits on the field, things are easier. But the first few steps, it's a ride. It's a ride, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, so you come back. The thumb is healed, but that 21 season, you guys no longer in rebuild. I think you guys make the playoffs that season. Okay, what was that, memories of that?
I was super motivated because, yes, you come back from an injury, so you're like, oh, yeah, here we go again, you know? And then, yes, obviously we have a bit of a feel of a normal season. Even though we were not traveling in the East, we basically played all the team in the West, maybe 1 or 2 team in the East, and that's it. So it was, back at it. Another 34 games, perfect. And we have a better team. The rebuild, the foundation has been laid, and it's not a rebuild anymore. It's more, all right, let's try to get above that red line at the end of the season. And we stick in there. We're at the last game against Seattle home. There's a free kick at the edge of the box, scramble, 5 guys throwing bodies in front of me, balls loose, big block on the line. From that moment, I think Salt Lake scores on the other game because it's decision day. Scores in the other game, makes us in and them out. Oh man, I don't remember the full extent of it, but like literally last second of the season, we make the playoff. It was just enjoying the football again after a year of pandemic and then break of the thumb. And then like I said, I was like, oh man, I'm back because I felt great. So I was just happy to play again.
You did have I think it was that season you had a viral moment, no, against Atlanta?
Oh, that was the first year. That was 2019.
Oh, 2019. Okay.
Yeah,
the three.
Yeah, that was 2019 at BC Place. Yeah, it was a good one. This one, I was just like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I was like, again, I knew who you were, and I was watching USL all the time, so I would watch the highlights, and then I remember seeing you make those saves, and I was like, okay, it's good to see that this guy's actually progressing and actually playing for a top club in the MLS now. And then that save just kind of blew up because I run a Instagram channels, and everybody was like, you got to post this, like get the rights from MLS, get it going, let's go. And I think that was a big one. I mean, like, people call you, or like, what was the
I mean, my phone was pretty hot the next 2 days after this one because yes, it did went viral, and I was like, I didn't really expect this. I was just doing my job, and I was really focusing on the next Wednesday game probably. And then when this happened, it was just cool to see that people did enjoy that chain of saves. So it was fun to see, but I did not really say, oh wow, I wasn't paying that much attention.
Refocus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm of what happens at Vancouver, though. A lot of shots, and this one, unfortunately, the stat sheet looked great that day. 3 saves back to back to back, so that was good. Then Vancouver, what was the step after that season? Were you looking to re-sign? Was maybe Montreal coming back, or what was the?
I had exactly the 2021 after the season. I sit down with my wife, my family, and I was in a point where I wanted to do something in the league. I was in a point where I know what I could bring to a table to an organization, and I wanted to win trophies. And that being said, the opportunity came to arrive here, and my agent pushed, and everybody that made the deal happen worked together to make the deal happen. And once I arrived here, it was brand new start, and it was let's get the business, and we have the potential to get trophies. And this was the main focus. It was really, I'm 28 now. Gonna have 29 this year. Damn.
Getting there.
So it's time now. It's time. I'm entering slowly the peak, I believe, where I'm entering the best years. And so what do you want to do in your career? And this is where I wanted to join an organization who wants to achieve big things. And so from there we start working, and we had a good season.
Yeah, just like with Yusuf, right? You're coming in with the hunger. He has the same kind of mentality. You guys mesh really well. It seems like here at LAFC, you had, goalkeepers, kind of a revolving door. You just never really settled in. You had Tyler Miller at the beginning, who probably had a little bit more of a grip on the position. And then as things started to progress, it was just like back and forth, different guys. So the ambition of the club plus your ambition to win a championship and to finally solidify that number one spot in the club, they met at the same time. And it was perfect. I would say perfect marriage, because nothing's ever perfect, but it was a marriage that made sense. And like I said, the first, sessions that I was working with you or even seeing you, you could just tell, like, there's little, like, things about your technique, or there's little things about the sequences or the situations in training that you want to improve. And you can almost tell, like, you're either coaching yourself, you're asking for advice, or you're just trying to, like, okay, next rep, let's go. That wasn't good enough. Let's go again. I know we said 5. I'm on number 6, but I need number 7. Let's go. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where it felt to me like, okay, we finally found, and even seeing the set pieces, man, like knowing where everyone needs to go, communicating it, not even communicating, demanding it. And I was sitting there behind the goal going like, okay, this is my first time really around someone like this. And now I'm realizing this is for me at least, what I like in a goalkeeper. So you unlocked a little like thing in my head to make me say, okay, if I need to, look for goalkeepers, this is something that I really want.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. But yeah, this is a big part of it. And when you first arrive, you don't know a lot of players. There was a few new faces, but with the core already installed in the organization, in the team. So it was really, really like, hey, I'm Max. Nice to meet you, everybody. Let's get to know each other. But on the field, it's business as well. Like, we need to work. We have some stuff to do. Everybody was on the same mentality as well. It was like, all right, we know what's the talent in this locker room. We know what we can achieve. And everybody worked in the same way, in the same line. Everybody was committed. The commitment was great. And this is the bit of details, like I told you, that I love to work. And I always say quality over quantity. But if I don't like the last 2 reps, I'll do another 2. That's the thing. That's the thing. I'd rather be a bit like, I pushed too much a bit, than I like, I did nothing. I like that feeling better. I like to be overworked in the week instead of being underworked. Yeah.
So yeah, it's your mind ready to go, and you have no question marks on the weekend. Yeah, so obviously Steve comes in, the new head coach. You have Oka, new goalkeeper coach. So for you, there's a lot of pressure here in LA. So did you feel that there was something different about the experience, or were you kind of like, again, head down, go to work, it's just like everything else?
I tried to have that look, the head down and work, which I always have and I always had. But I did feel a sense of, we need to win here. We need to win, and it's totally normal. It's the expectations. The city has these expectations, not only at the bank at BMO Stadium, not only at BMO Stadium. The bank I saw yesterday, with the bank with a C or a K, and people were in between. But it's at the bank. The bank is the bank.
It'll be that. Yeah.
So when we go to the bank, you have that sense, the supporters that I have a great relationship with since day one, they push you and all that stuff. And so you feel that little bit of attention. And for me, for a first year, now it's the second year, I take that under my belt, and I know how to manage better these moments. But at first it was a bit of tension, excitement, maybe pressure on myself because of these expectations maybe, but now it's under my belt, so it's going to be even better for the second year.
3-2-5-2, man, there's something different, huh?
Oh yeah, best in the league, honestly. You go to a lot of the stadiums in the league, but once you're at the bank, things are different.
It dwarfs everything else.
Yeah.
Going into this season, obviously you have your objectives, you have your ambitions. You guys end up winning it all. So, like, what was it now? Again, not even just being the number one, but now with a club that the expectation every single game is to win. And if you have maybe a loss and a tie, the whole world is crumbling. What was that new kind of experience like?
Yeah, it was good because I'm someone who wants to win every single game. Every game, there's 3 points to grab. We had that month, I believe it was September, I think, where we had like 3 losses, 1 tie, 2 wins in like 6 games or something like this. I don't remember exactly the record when we had the little bit of a drop and people were like, oh. I was like, yeah, it happens to pretty much every team. Like, is it alarming? No, but do we need to get it back together? Yes, because I believe we had that little down in a good moment because it was right before the last month of action where we picked up again and we entered the playoffs with some momentum. But yeah, I am like this as well. I want to win every game, so I understand. And I go back to when I was 14 and 15 and I was behind the net in Montreal. I had the same passion screaming down. So I'm completely on board with that. This is our job. This is normal. This is the real football. This is what it is. And you go down over the pond and there's relegation and promotion. Things change as well. So I'm on board with that. Absolutely. I love it. I loved it. Yeah.
So you do play the Gold Cup that year, correct? In 2021?
Yes.
Okay, so you play all the matches, essentially, and you do pretty well. You guys get to, I think it was the semifinal or the...
Yeah, semifinal, Mexico and Dallas, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so now again, it's a lot of things they're starting to add up a little bit. You're getting the opportunities now. I mean, LAFC bought you for $1 million. Like, it wasn't an easy sell. Like, it was a big deal. And then obviously now with the national team, you're actually, getting serious consideration. You're being the number 1 with the World Cup year coming into this year. So now again, the ambitions and objectives are set at a higher level. And then, during the World Cup cycle, you do get, I think in the September window, or I think around 3 games. Yeah. So again, it's going into the World Cup where you thinking, okay, it's adding up. I can be the starter for this. And then obviously with the MLS Cup or MLS ambitions, whereas everything kind of like you said, I'm here to win, but also too now you're like, I'm the guy.
No, you're never the guy. You're always there's always someone breathing down your neck. There's always somebody. You're never untouchable in an organization. Never. That's the business. Except if you're Messi or Ronaldo. Even Ronaldo, look, in their primes, okay, maybe these 2 athletes, but nobody's untouchable. It's so important to keep your head down and to keep your feet on the ground as well. I had a good momentum, you're right, because of the season of last year. We had a great year, and then things started to end well as well because I started to prove myself a bit more in the international level, and the international football is 2 different things compared to club football. There's the travel, there's players, the system is different. Turnarounds are really, really fast because you go to, I remember the windows, you have to play in Honduras, you go back up to Toronto. It's like in 2 days you play again, and it was freezing cold. You go back all the way back down to Salvador. The other day you're in Costa Rica. After that you go back to Toronto once again, back down to Costa Rica. It's moving a lot in these qualification period. It was really tight turnaround, and you pass more hours on the plane than on the field, literally. When these things happen, it was like, oh, nice. I'm slowly getting into the mold of it. And obviously the national team, we had such a tight team in a good group. And I know I was the second of Milan. Milan was our guy for the campaign, and I knew that, but I knew how to give my best, how to bring his best out for the group as well. And so I think it was just slowly me being more of a silent leader once again, that I can be there in training and on the games to take the team where it needs to be sometimes. But I knew Milan was definitely the man for this campaign. Yeah.
And again, we are running a little bit low on time. I got to get you out of here in a few minutes. But MLS Cup final. I mean, we all know what happens in that situation.
No, what happened?
But I think the coffee stain is more important than the injury now.
People can see this.
Yeah, they probably can. Yeah. But I mean, MLS Cup. What do you remember before the injury at the end of the game? But you worked everything up until that point. What was that morning like? It's
a really intense week. Like, the week is, you try to prepare as a normal week, but it is not a normal week. You sense it. There's media day. After that, there's 5,000s. The hype, the 5,000 shows, journalists, article. You need to shut down everything drain all these out and focus on the game week. It's just that your old entourage and the whole league is living onto that last game of the season. So it's not a normal week, even though you're trying to be a little bit normal and do the same stuff as the usual. The staff made an unbelievable job with this to shut everything down and to really focus on the game. Absolutely, that was a primordial to the success. But this game was very, very, very intense. It was back and forth, fairly physical team. We met each other early in the season, did a 2-2 tie. This game, unbelievable 3-3. But it was an intense game that you have to live one moment at a time. You cannot put yourselves ahead. It's really like one action at a time, especially when it's a tight one and you don't see that much action within the game. And obviously there's that action, that pass coming through. I need to go, and we all know what happened. I got the worst of it. But at the end of the day, I don't think when I'm on the field where my body just goes and it's just instinct. And that was the moment. There's instinct going, and I saw that through ball. I did it all year long. I know there's a through ball or a pass back, whatever. If the ball is coming to me, I need to defend the space in front of me as well, not just the goal. And I was like, I'm going. Like, it was not even negotiable. And there it is.
Yeah. In that moment was like, okay, let's see how bad this is, or you knew how bad it was. You knew right away World Cup was done. Like, what was going through your mind as soon as you were like maybe getting carted off?
So on the field, numb for 5-6 seconds, no pain, no nothing. I heard it. I heard a snap.
Oh,
yeah. I heard a snap, and I'm like, me or him. I don't know. Everything is numb. And I kind of spin off on the field, look at my leg. Shit. Right away, I see it. It's crooked. I have an eye contact with Elie. Elie and I would look at each other. We both look at the bench. We say, come right now. Man, from there, pain arrives. Pain arrives. You get carted off in the tunnel, in the ambulance. Now the adrenaline is kind of dropping a little bit because it's such a high of adrenaline. It's dropping a little bit. I'm with my wife. I'm with my parents, my in-laws. And we all look at each other. I look at Christina. And we knew it was over. And then just tears. Emotions right away. In the ambulance, right away. Nightmare. And then we got the notification. We were still in the stadium when Garrett equalized. So we heard it. And then in the ambulance, we got the notification. My dad called me, and we were champions. So that was amazing. But once again, a roller coaster emotions.
I just remember seeing, I think Paul was FaceTiming with you, and the guys were FaceTiming with you. And then I just let you, Max is like, John is yelling at you, like, I love you, man. So like, just at that point too, like there's so many things, man. Like, World Cup's gone, injury, and then it's like, how long am I going to be out for? I'm getting carted out. Then my boys are celebrating.
I'm on morphine. Season. I'm on. Yeah. It was a wild experience. Unbelievable. Like, I mean, roller coaster emotions of winning it all. Then my World Cup's gone. So there was a bit of a realization at this time. Then FaceTime the boys, big hype once again. And then, oh man, they need to, while I'm at the hospital and all that stuff, doctors needs to evaluate this thing. So without going into the medical stuff, man, it was painful. It was so painful. And yeah, they gave me narcotics. I had to. I was dying almost. So it was like, whew, I'm in another world right now. I'm in the vapes, you know. So it was. When I woke up from surgery, the next day, things were better. Things were better. Still not 100%, but things were better. But like the first 24 hours, whew, what a ride. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to you back on the field. I know that the process is the process, so you kind of have to get through it. But I know you have to get through to your rehab now, or your routine. So, any just last words, I guess, for anybody who is maybe at a club, it's not working out, like how the progression's not as nice and as straightforward, and the sky is not always blue. Any maybe motivation for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's so. It's touchy sometimes because the brain always wants to go faster than the process sometimes. Look at me with the injury. Sometimes I would just want to go faster than what it is, but the body, I got to heal. And sometimes life does work out well sometimes where a lot of people that I know and that I love, always told me to be patient, and I'm not someone that is too much patience in life. You saw me on the field sometimes, right? Yeah. So I'm not that patient in life, which I need to work every single day. But if it does not work out and you still put the work and you want to be better and you do everything in order to improve and achieve the next step, well, and you have a bit of patience and you do this, it cannot always be gray. One day it'll flip the switch and you will move on from the situation that you are in. And that's in football for goalkeeping, but it's in pretty much every aspect of it. If you keep showing up, a bit patient, and I'm not saying this all be super optimistic and everybody goes through rough times, but if you keep showing up and a bit of patience, and it's not always gray. At the end of the day, it'll be light there, yeah.
All right, Max. Well, I know one day I want to have you back on for a longer time. I know there's probably more things we can get into, but I'll let you get to what you need to get to. I thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll see you on the field soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, but take care.